All right, welcome back to the Splitting Hairs podcast presented by Jackrabbit Illustrated. It's Thomas Stacker with me and Kyle, as always. Appreciate you joining me, Thomas. We're really excited for this one because there's no love lost in this bad boy. There is no love lost. There's a lot of grit, a lot of spit, and a whole lot of talking shit, So it's going to go down in Fargo this weekend. And I know they got a bad taste in their mouths because we put it on them 2 straight years. They want to win this game big time. They've won the ultimate prize, for better or worse. They were able to get out with some more titles. So I know the Jacks have a little unfinished business as well. So with that being said, how are you doing? And what are your feelings like heading into this first Marker game, not being a player?
I think I couldn't be in a more better spot for it. You know what I mean? I've been living in Fargo for the last few months, and a lot of crap talking has been going way up the closer we got to the game. And it's special for sure, like being a part of it, but being on the outside and seeing your friends play this well and not letting up 100 yards yet this season in the run game. It's just like, and you got guys thinking they're going to run the ball on them. Like, it's nuts. Like, I've been at work talking to I work with Carlton Littlejohn. I've been telling him, I was like, I got a bet with him. I'm like, your boy's not running for over 100 yards this game. Told him Caleb Sanders and the boys not going to let that one happen. So, no, I'm super excited. It's going to be different being in the crowd, and I'll be able to say some things I wasn't able to say when I was a player there. So I'll be excited for that.
Like good luck and Godspeed, like stuff like that. Yeah. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm about to tell people, yeah, it's time to hit the Essex, bro.
I love it. It's all in good fun. Everybody's hyper competitive. We love to talk a big game, and we like to back it up at South Dakota State. So it's really cool to see a tough, physical, hard fought game against two teams that are consensus 1 and 2 for the first time battling since about, I want to say, the early 90s. I saw a stat the other day, and I think it just speaks to the ante that's been upped from the Dakota territory with the FCS classification. Outside of the Brawl of the Wild, and this is no disrespect to the national landscape, but outside the Brawl of the Wild, I don't really think there's a showdown quite like this. And for those who haven't been able to see it yet, go check out the piece that was done on ESPN.com that highlights the history of the Dakota Marker, kind of how it came to fruition, the real OG reason that they picked the Dakota Marker to be the trophy, and how cool it was. For those of you who don't know, little spoiler, South Dakota State administration, along with NDSU administration, literally walked to the separating part. Thanks, Chad, for throwing that up. Getting a little garage time in here. And so for those who aren't seeing, we just pulled up the feature piece, and within that piece, it highlighted how they agreed to essentially make the Dakota Marker the trophy, the de facto trophy, and they shook hands in true Yellowstone fashion, something straight out of the Wild West at the border, and just got it done. So I thought that was really remarkable and kind of a cool little anecdote that people may not know. And there's a lot more in there too, so go check it out. And there's a lot more passion from several dudes on both sides of the respective teams, one being Coach Rogers, one being Tyler Roll, folks who put their blood, sweat, and tears into this showdown. And it's going to be exciting, man. I don't know. There's so much we can talk about. Want to get into first. We had an excellent showing running the football against the Yotes. We've already kind of hinted at our ability to shut down the run game. But I think this game, like all games between these two teams, is won in the trenches. You guys in 2020, when we retained when we brought it back to its rightful resting place, we suffocated them. I don't think Lipke had much on the ground at all. And I want to say we ran for 300 plus yards in the Fargo Dome. And now a very useful statistic was shared as well by one of the sports writers, I want to say, out of Fargo. It might have been McFeely, but 170 yards is a key figure, right? When the Bison were able to run for 170 yards, they were able to win most of the time. And when they didn't rush for 170 yards, they've won only 1 out of 8 showdowns. So, with that being said, obviously both teams want to try to run the football. NDSU is going to throw a lot of fullbacks in the mix. Talk to us from your perspective as a player. Like, how do you go about stopping an offense like that when you know exactly what they're trying to do?
NDSU has been so different, like kind of throughout my career. They've had Trey Lance, Easton Stick, and now Cam Miller. And I think, the difference back then than it is now, like those offensive lines, like earlier, like 2016 through like 2018 have been like absolutely like machines, right? Like they do their job. Like you're not supposed to be in that gap. You're not going to be there. And I think, a way to kind of go into this week and really prepare for it is, I already know the guys are. It's just about just doing your job. Like if I'm supposed to be in this gap and this double team's not supposed to go vertical, it's not going to, right? Like you got guys like Ryan Van Marl, who was a load to move, guys like Caleb Sanders, not a lot of people probably watch this play, but I think it was the playoff game in 2018. They tried to run 22 power. So like they pulled the guard and brought the center down at Caleb, and Caleb absolutely like took the guy 3 yards back and put him on his back, blew the whole play up. Like, it's just about just being physical on the line of scrimmage, linebackers doing their thing, fitting gaps, condensing the edges. And I think 2020, that's what really made us have a lot of success in the Fargo Dome. Just like doing your job, not getting out of your gap, not trying to do too much, like trusting your buddy, like, hey, like I'm doing my job. I know my guy next to me is doing the same thing. So,
yeah, very disciplined football. When the Jacks win, they play disciplined football. Ironically, in 2016, when we beat them up there for the first time since 2008, it was awesome to watch because, it was hard to watch, but it was also awesome to watch because we were moving the ball all over the place on them, like long sustained drives. And then we just shoot ourselves in the foot or go for it on fourth and just weren't able to capitalize. But then we're forcing them to drive the length of the field. And then, we were able to get crucial plays in big moments. Missed early on in the game, a deep shot to Goddard that I think he was hauling ass downfield and like try to get one hand on it. Almost, maybe it was a little overshot, but one of the big things that really benefited us in that game, as well as the 2020 win, was the quarterback run. So when Taryn was able to get his on the ground, the Hogs were doing their 111th and really moving bodies. We were able to establish a rhythm and also insert an extra blocker, right? Because they play such disciplined gap control defense, and they have for a long time. That's really been their staple because from an offensive perspective, they just play great defense. Like even last week when they struggled against Indiana State, they started early with several 3-and-outs. Turnovers bit them. Maybe some lack of maturity, not from a personality standpoint, but a lack of maturity in terms of reps and understanding some of these situations for them. I know they're young at some spots. So in essence, if we do that, run the ball, possess the ball, have other 8-minute drives, 15-play drives like we had last week at home against the Yotes, I think, that's our brand of football that we need to adhere to. Stig even mentioned it in the postgame press conference, right? And then, so what I want to know from your perspective is, what does that do to another team? Like what does it do to you as a player when you're on the other side of the ball and you see your guys like driving downfield in a long drive like that?
It just gets you hyped because you got time to really draw up what's going on. Like, what are we going to get next series? Get the rotation going. Like, all right, he's going to be here, and we're doing that. And I think really is just very demoralizing, like to the other team, right? And especially like guys like this, because like a lot of them aren't used to that, right? Like NDSU, like a lot of them blow out a lot of people. So sometimes these guys are used to just playing halves of football instead of like a full blown game.
Yeah.
Right? So if you give NDSU the NDSU treatment, I don't know how they're going to respond to that. I know you got good players over there, but I think the maturity that we have on SDSU's team right now, and like all the guys that have been playing, and all the reps that they have, like that's going to show like big time in this game.
I think so as well, specifically from the defensive side of the ball. Now that doesn't mean they're not going to potentially get some of theirs, not even potentially have a over 100-yard rusher, but I think when rubber meets the road, the defense of the Jacks versus the offense of the Bison, I think that's the story to watch personally. You know what they want to do. I think Tyler Roll, actually, in my opinion, I think he's a really good offensive coordinator. You know, I'm biased. I love fullbacks, and I love the way they use fullbacks. And I also think that the way they use fullbacks lends itself to ball control offense. And I think the more football changes, the more it stays the same in those teams who can possess the ball long, have sustained drives where they're just they're jabbing you, getting 3-4 yards in a cloud of dust, and then they can hit you with that right hook, which their right hook seems to be leaking Hunter Lepke out of the backfield on some of these, wheel routes down the sidelines or up the seam, and him reaching pay dirt. And I think that lulls defenses to sleep. But one thing I want to highlight as well, and I definitely want to get your input on this, our secondary has stepped up from the safety position, which I think was kind of one of those key areas that we wanted to see a little bit of growth and development from. A little bit more stay home, get your eyes disciplined, do your 111th. I mean, Griff was great in the physical run game, lad. I mean, he was so fun to watch, but I think so much was asked of him because he was trying to clean up a lot too, right?
Yeah.
So now seeing these young guys who played a lot, and Norblade hasn't even gotten that much run this year due to injury issues, but Herder stepped up. Durant has stepped up. Tucker Large in some situations when he's been called into action. What's that like, seeing guys step up, especially from a D-line perspective, man?
I mean, I think it's dope seeing these guys, like the growth that they made. And I mean, a lot of them haven't gotten a whole lot of reps before this year. Like Herder just kind of got a few reps in like the Villanova game, like a few reps in the Montana State game. After that, like this is like his first real reps, and like seeing him like step into that role and really like hit the ground running has been dope. Seeing Tucker Large play, like even playing at some linebacker, like, the kind of guy he is also like, I love that dude. Like the attitude he brings to football, like, no, it don't matter who you are. Like, he's like, hey man, like I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna get paid today. So
let's go. You need that on the team.
Yeah. I love seeing him play. Durant's like, he came a long way too. Like as a senior, like I really didn't know like what the landscape of the team was going to look like and who was going to be getting reps where. After this year, but I mean, seeing all pretty much young guys kind of step in that role and being led by Reeder and Norblade, and can I just say, like, Reeder looks like Jack these days. Like, he's massive.
Yeah, he's gotten thicker. I like it. I like it. I noticed that too about Frankel. I know Frankel got injured in the Iowa game, but man, he looked a lot thicker than he did before. And I know we talk about it on the A-Team podcast, and Chad can vouch for this, but we've been championing Jacobs for the strength coach because there's some noticeable differences in the body comp. That's not to say Coach Mo wasn't, all on board of that too, because he did that for years. That was his specialty, adding mass. But you can definitely see some growth, some newness, some change.
Some of these dudes are massive, like Max Balloon. Like last year. I don't know if you guys saw much of him, but I mean, he was like skinny.
Yeah.
Like now he's like 270, looking like a full-fledged D tackle. Like, it's dope.
Yeah, man. And it's that money, right? Like resources going into the organization, the university. Not only do they pay for the education, they pay for you guys to be able to be at your best, whether it comes to training table and meals that you guys get, game day meals, and just overall being able to support, your actual human performance side of things too. Because, the more well-rested you are, and then the more, armor you got, muscle mass, then the better things can materialize on the field when you're called into action. So yeah, it's a great point. And Reeder stepping up big with some key turnovers in games, just like recently, so I'm excited to see what he can do. Norblade had the big pick last year at home that really kind of tilted momentum, allowed us to gain some separation. I want to talk about some of the things that have happened to North Dakota State, but first, friend of the pod, Jim Poppin, Stacks, is providing great insight, very well spoken. He can help carry me when I do the ums and the ahs. So we love to have him. We're going to do this segment regularly. Stacks on Sacks. This isn't just for Bison week, although, we like that. By the way, Bison is pronounced with a flippin' S.
I don't know why they do that either. Like,
get the hell out of here with that garbage.
I'm tired of that.
That's right. So we should segue into the Bison have been bit by the injury bug, which you never want that, but it seems like from a luck perspective, we just get some dumb luck sometimes, right? Where the Jacks have always had this injury bug, right? Like Zay didn't even get to play last year. We were all kind of nervous about that because we know how big of a load he is. They've got some guys down now, right? Mostert, you want to talk about that? This is your forte.
Yeah. So Eli Mostert. I spoke to him a few times this summer. Great dude. Broke his leg. So in my opinion, I believe he's our best D tackle. I mean, the dude plays with a motor. He's a big ass dude. Great pass rusher. Yeah. So I mean, he's not like some big fat guy. Like he's a real athlete out there in a 3-tech. And I mean, they're gonna miss him for sure.
Yeah.
And Gendorf is hurt. I think he's a phenomenal athlete. One of the best tight ends in the Valley. Well, in FCS for sure. So I mean, that's another tough one to have someone go down. And with Eli being out, they're gonna have to call in a lot of younger guys. I mean, aside from his twin brother, who's going to be starting that game, but they're going to have to play a lot of younger guys. Like they have a D tackle from Missouri, I believe, who's a great player, but he hasn't had to be in that role to be like a starter, like in a big game like this. Like have to take a load of reps against like Mason McCormick's and guys like that. So I mean, they're going to ask a lot of them. They're going to ask a lot of their front seven, and we'll see if they're up for the task on Saturday, but I mean, they're asking a lot of some guys that haven't played a lot of football. And
it'll be interesting to see the wrinkles and the sprinkles Luan throws out there. You know what I mean? Like, is there going to be window dressing? He's very much of the Coach Eck, Coach Eidsness tree, right? Where he's going to, put some shifts, trades, motions, some things they're going to do differently to kind of maybe deal with the noise. It'll be really cool to see what happens as far as that goes. Now, on the flip side of that, what was it like playing them? Did they have any keys that threw you off that were atypical of what you would see out of different packages? And do you think they'll throw some of that at us this week to kind of outsmart or play their own chess game, so to speak?
I think the way NDSU plays a lot is they kind of get in this flow of like, all right, well, this is what we're about to do. Like, and I don't think you're good enough to stop it. There's going to get to a point in the game where it leaves from like trying to dress everything up and trying to trick everyone. It's like, all right, like, let's say like this is 22 power. What are you going to do about it? Right. So like, and I know they got a good coaching staff over there, and they're going to try and dress a lot of things up and throw our guys for a loop. But I mean, just the way that our coaches coach things, like the way that we practice every week, and not just like specifically for NDSU.
Right.
I know our guys will be prepared for whatever they see. So.
Yeah. Excellent. Another cool thing that's been getting a lot of run this week because it made, national news, and it was very, it was creative. I would say it's more creative than gimmicky because it played off tendency both for us as an offense and them as a defense, which is Pierre's between the legs direct snap that he threw to Tucker Kraft, which was an epic celebration too, by the way, bowing like he was a performer, on the red carpet. And it was freaking hilarious to see that. And I have a big picture of that up on my desktop, which is hilarious. Tucker has a little bit of interesting swag when he celebrates and stuff. I like it.
Tucker is a interesting guy is a good way to put it.
Do tell, elaborate, because we got to get into his little cryptic tweet and the potential of him lining up.
I mean, dude, my guy Tucker, like when he first came in, like a lot of us would like make fun of him a lot because like, oh, like this dude, like he couldn't catch for nothing. So it was like, damn, like he was like, Tuck, you may as well move to DM, bro, like because he was still jacked, but I mean, his work ethic is just like nuts. I mean, the guy works harder than almost anyone I've seen. I mean, he's strong as hell. Like,
I gotta pause you there, dude. I gotta pause there and ask a question, like, and highlight what you said, because I don't think people realize, like, people look at him and we don't see all the work he's put in, but like knowing, like, I was corresponding with him a little bit in the summer, just trying to like see if I could share and network any resources for human performance pre-draft stuff, like I did with you guys on the pod. And it's like he picked a spot in Nashville, went out there, worked his ass off, kept working, comes back. He has a gym in his garage in college, works out there, does stuff. I mean, it's like literally it is a next level work ethic.
Yeah, and you know, it's crazy. The whole gym in the garage thing kind of started from an old D tackle we had, Andy Mueller,
Oh
who
yeah,
really he didn't play a whole bunch, but I mean the guy just worked extremely hard. I think Tucker lived with him for a summer, and I think just seeing that kind of work ethic and like being able to do that all summer kind of like got Tucker to the idea that like, you know what, like the dude loves working out. He's like, well, why can't I just work out in my garage? And
right.
seeing him put in all that work and it's pretty dope. And seeing like the confidence come there with it, because like
Mhm.
Tucker was kind of like a timid dude when he first got here, but I mean now like he'll tell you like, oh yeah, I think I'm the best player on the field right now. You know what I mean? And I think that's
And
dope.
yeah, and it's not a diluted,
Right.
self-talk here. It's literal, like watch my work and then watch me talk. It's like it's
Yeah,
kind of one of those things. And I like the edge that he brings. I know that the tight end position is so useful and vital in today's offenses, especially in the valley. Because they're kind of a security blanket when they need to be. But when you have 6'6", like that picture Chad posted to Tucker, for those who are just listening, 6'5.5", 6'6", shredded.
bro, he's
Um,
gotten like since last year, he's gotten much bigger. Like
yeah, 260 maybe you could call
yeah,
it these days. I mean, legs are huge. I was talking to some of my doctor buddies to just kind of understand the injury and the recovery and return to play, which they said is very, very feasible. He could be back in 4 weeks, so they wouldn't be surprised if he actually played uh, in this game, especially with his stature and his ability to recover and how he trains. Um, so it was interesting to see like just his build at Iowa. Like he looked denser and just like, again, good shit going on in the Jack's strength and conditioning
yeah,
program. It would appear from the outside.
yeah. Because me, X, and Crockett went back to Brookings for a summer for a wedding earlier, and like I hadn't really seen Tucker that much. It was like because like once you leave, like you're kind of done. We
Correct.
got back, and like once we left, we got in the car. We're like, does Tucker look bigger? Like the dude is like NFL size right now.
Oh,
Like
right now. And that's what I love about it too, because we're starting to become known as like this den of tight ends, right? Like
yeah,
where we just breed them from all the way back to Steve Hyden, who Tucker is very much built like Steve Hyden, who had like a 10-year career in the NFL with the Browns and was drafted by the Chargers. And then Colin Koshart, who was a lot leaner than Tucker, but very versatile with his hands and had good blocking ability, played for the Bengals, undrafted free agent. And then, of course, Dallas Goddard, one of the upper echelon. Tony Gonzalez thinks he's one of the best tight ends or the best tight end right now in the NFL. So it's a heritage right now. And it's
yeah,
definitely, we've had a D-line heritage for a long time, from guys. Chad might be able to, his name escaped me all of a sudden, but he was in the D2 days. He was a beast. He played for the Bills or was at rookie minicamp for the Bills. You got the Eric Schroders of the world, the Mitch Pontrellis, the Gabe Kenningsfields of the world. R.I.P. to him. Um, you know, he just has so many quality
oh yeah, yeah.
linemen. I'm sorry.
They're trying to type in who it is now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Danny
So
Batten, yeah.
yeah, well, Batten, but there's another dude. Yeah, Danny was my teammate. There's another guy in the D2 era, but yeah, Batten for sure. Um, So yeah, Batten's another one. Tony Thompson was a freak, an actual local South Dakota kid from Sioux Falls, Roosevelt. We built a pipeline to that. Teammate of mine. He was like 6'3.5", 265, 270. He could be 290 if they wanted him to be. Dude ran like a 4.6, was a wrestling state champion, had offers to Virginia Tech to wrestle. Just some absolute dogs on the D
Yeah.
line. I mean, yourself coming from Illinois.
I say the next few guys in line I'm gonna throw in are Caleb Sanders.
Oh yeah,
I'm
of course.
throwing Kate Trevere, like Reese, like bro. I'm so excited to see how the draft process goes for those
Oh,
type of
me too.
guys.
And we really need to highlight Reese is continuing to climb the all-time sacks depth
Bro,
chart. And his
Reese,
mom's a great friend of the pod, so maybe she'll catch wind of this and boost the signal some more. But he's done a hell of a job, man. He really has. And I think like if not him benefiting from Caleb benefits from him and vice versa. And these guys are just eating left and right. Now talk about this though. What's that environment like in Fargo from a defensive line perspective, noise wise? I mean, you shouldn't be affected by the noise anyway. You're looking at the ball, But what is it like playing on that turf and kind of getting a feel for the whole nature of the noise and the environment?
It's a crazy environment for sure. I mean, I think you can't really focus too much on everything else is going on because North Dakota State is always going to have a literally top 3 O-line you're going to see all year with like you and I being in there.
Yeah.
I think, those guys play really hard. So I'll be thinking like, I got to focus on this dude in front of me. Cause like, if I lose my focus and think about something else, I'm about to be 5 yards back and we're going to have, Bruce Anderson running for 40 yards for a touchdown. So.
And that's the other thing too, with their offensive line, they do tend to pull in different directions or run some different blocking schemes to throw off the eyes of the backers in the secondary. Isn't that right?
Yeah, they do a lot
counter.
Counter power. Like their staple play is like 22 power. And QB power, like, is going to be a whole lot of, downhill stuff, right? Where Lupke, I think, is best. Like, he doesn't have to juke people out of the way. Like, if he can get that little space of light down there, like, he's going for a while. And if he gets to second level, there's not a lot of guys that can tackle him. But,
and again, that's like one of our things, right? Like, we love to stuff the run of that kind. So, and we do a very good job at it. So again, I think that you bring up a really good point. Our secondary needs to tackle if it gets to that. Good thing we got Stallbird back there.
Yeah,
I think he's a really good tackler for a safety. I think, as a linebacker, he had such versatility in the pass coverage game. He also would make some really good run fits, but just having more weight behind him at a linebacker would have been beneficial. I think now at safety, I mean, he's going to flourish. Then you got obviously Herder. Reader will knock your in the dirt.
Yes, so Reader will kill somebody.
Reader might be this is a bold statement. He might be one of the hardest hitters on the team. Now he drives me nuts because sometimes he'll launch himself and it's like, bro, we need you. Yeah. Do not do that.
Yeah.
But you can't stop a competitor from competing. I had Coach Sarvis used to say that all the time about one of my teammates, Corey Jeske, was just a beast. The quarterback that converted to safety and would run he would run your ass over. So you love that kind of mentality, especially from a defensive standpoint, because there's no back down, right? And against a team like the Bison with a ruckus crowd like that, if you knock someone's head off, that's going to set the tone. It's going to quiet the crowd. It's going to give dudes like you and me opportunity to talk a lot of shit, and it's going to be great.
Bro, you couldn't pay me to go up for a ball if Kale Reader's trying to follow me.
I know, right?
You couldn't pay me to do that.
There was a stretch there where it was like, man, is he going to get tossed in every consecutive game here for a half or what? But he's dialed that in. He's gotten his head out of the way and still made some incredible tackles and big hits. We should talk about that though. Penalties being a big factor in the games that the Bison loses or drops to FBS opponents, which is few and far between, and then to FCS opponents, which is only us. They tend to shoot themselves in the foot with penalties. They have turnovers, and then they don't reach that 170-yard rushing mark. The Jacks, conversely, do a lot of the same things, right? These teams are very, very similar in terms of what they want to do. They want to possess the ball. They want to play great defense, and they want to play stellar special teams. Penalties aside, because I think we can rein in some of those. What do you think about our special teams?
I know, they make some plays from time to time. I think like that USD game was huge, blocking those field goals.
Hell of an effort by Dallas Beanham. Hell of an effort.
Yeah. And I think, sometimes it's hard on like kickoff, making that first tackle and getting there and finishing it right there. And I know, like if we can see the mistakes, I know for sure, like Jimmy and all those guys see it and they're going to fix it. So, it's just a matter of time before our guys get it 100% there. And I'm sure this week will be a great week to do that. You know what I mean? So I know, my bad. You go.
No, you're good. So I was just going to say, like, in terms of execution, I don't really question their execution. I mean, other guys are on scholarship too. Sometimes they're going to get theirs. And we did a good job of supporting them from a defensive perspective, Reader getting that pick, and guys just doing what they needed to do when they needed to do it, right? And then I want to say Beanham got one too off of a crucial sudden change situation. And I think when you're in a game like this, operations is crucial. So getting lined up on the sidelines when you're supposed to, not having to burn timeouts or getting forced into a situation to burn timeouts that you need to preserve in the event one team possesses the ball or puts you in a situation where you need to preserve as much time as possible, right? So, when I look at historically what the Jacks have done this season from an operations standpoint, if they can clean that up, I think it's advantage Jackrabbits from the perspective that they don't have issues when they execute, right?
Right.
They just have issues right now getting everybody where they need to be and staying on schedule with it. That's my opinion. Right. And then I will say though, the one spot they do have an execution issue is dudes on field goal block, like not field goal block, but field goal. Need to nut up and block, attack a person in front of their face and nut up. I mean, it's football terminology. I'm not trying to be degrading to anybody.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
But attack them, man. Like, don't just let them fold you. And that's the thing about field goal that everyone needs to understand, and you know it from being on field goal block. When you have to take an interlocked step, you lose leverage, but you prevent seepage, and preventing seepage is clutch. Right. But you have to be violent on that too, because you're going to probably get run over, but you can't get folded. You can't have a complete collapse. And that's happened a couple times. So hopefully they can iron that up. And I know they had to work on that in practice. Yeah.
For sure. And I know like that, like when you're on field goal, like there's different calls for, how we plan on kicking it. Like sometimes you're going down where you're just literally lunging down there. And sometimes like you're up with it. So like and like D linemen are coming off to take your head off. Right. And like, I know that's probably like, a little nerve-wracking sometimes. And, some of those guys in there, like, don't get to play all the time. So, like, sometimes your first snap is walking in there, and this D lineman's about to tee off on me. You know what I mean? And I know they're going to get it cleaned up, so.
Yeah, and I want to be level-handed with my criticism as well. I think that I've just been criticized for being too much of a homer before, so I want to, like, add adequate feedback from that perspective. So, this, you didn't hear it from me, but sometimes that works on field goal, right?
Yes.
We'll punch him in the guts.
Yeah, I'll get your hands down for
allegedly. Sure. That for sure will get your hands down. So Chad is spot on that. That's what they do in quick game, right? Too quick passing game.
Yeah.
Hand shiver to the gut. So when we're looking at being level-handed with criticism here, Hunter Dustman has done a hell of a job pinning opponents deep on punt as of recent games, and I think that I would prefer our coaching staff not put him in situations to really have to kick a low trajectory field goal, and not to do this against North Dakota State unless it's within a little bit more manageable range. He's had some high 40s, mid-level 50-plus field goals that they've rolled him out there for that I think would have been more advantageous from a game management standpoint, and a field position standpoint, and a time of possession standpoint, which is what the Bison and Jacks thrive in.
Right.
Pin teams back. Don't put Hunter in a position when he's already shouldering all the kicking duties to have him have to get his mind back on schedule if after a block or a miss, or and we're going to need him and rely on him not only this game, through the rest of the year. So I would like to see that a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, there should be the utmost confidence in our defense too. That like, if we pin them deep, I don't think they're gonna I don't know many guys are going to make it all the way back down the field when you got, a defense that's letting up 228 yards a game. You know what I mean?
Dude, and on that note, I think, Stig's definitely not arrogant, but I think that really speaks to the amount of confidence he had in the defense last week to kick a 53-yarder and just be like, we don't really care about field position as much because we believe in our D so much. And like, yeah, you had one 20-yard run, but then you didn't do shit. Right. I think their drives from their last one to their first one to their last one, all the ones in between on those, they had like -11 total yards or something like that. It was insane what the defense did last week, and kudos to these adjustments. And it was hilarious. Again, I don't know if you got a chance to actually read that ESPN article that came out about the Marker game, but the author did an excellent job. And Chad, if you can pull that up again, we should highlight the author's name because he just escapes me. It's Ryan something, I believe. But just talking about Coach Rogers' desk and how it's like,
man,
it's all strewn with all these like cut-ups and things he's doing. Ryan McGee. Yeah, he did a hell of a job, man. It was really cool to read that again. Whether you're a native of South Dakota or you're just an alum, that was really it was well written, even-handed to both sides, and then it just really highlighted to that point Coach Rodgers, how he approaches things, his mentality, and yeah, it'll be interesting. How you think he probably does he sleep during this week? I know he does not like this team.
I know. I'm not sure, but from the passion that he speaks with when he talks about this game, like he's a passionate guy in general. And like he cares about SDSU football and football in general, and like all of us as players. But the passion that he brings to this game and the fire that he lights in the guys like the night before the game has always been something that I would look forward to, right? Like,
hell yeah,
because the guy makes you just want to literally
the wall.
Yeah, like, and the fact that he's giving, like, he gives more of himself, right? Like, and you see that, and you're like, why in the hell wouldn't I?
Exactly. And I think that's something we can all take away. Like, not all of us are going to be football coaches or high-level football players, or most of us will never sniff the NFL. But the reality of it is, whatever you do, if you go all in, put all your chips in, or at least give so much of it to where at the end of the day you can hold your head high like Jimmy does, I think that's badass. I didn't always get along with Jimmy because I think we both were hyper competitive, and we always had to fit in practice when I got switched from D-line. But that dude, when he talked after, like when we were going out for pregame and stuff like that, and he was getting us hype, when he talked, you listened, and his eyes would get like beady, and he would get these pins and needles. And then we go, you have to hate losing more than you love winning. And just to hear him talk, he's like, I don't care. He's like, I don't care about anything else. You leave it all out on the field. And like, he would just get, like, I got goosebumps right now, because there are some guys who have the ability to reach into your heart and flip a switch. And he's one of those guys. I would say, a lot of people have mixed reviews on him or mixed feelings on him, but Coach Fleck is one of those guys in Minnesota, just completely changing the culture up there, and really doing some big things, even though he should have took a big L against us in 2019.
He lucked out a little bit.
He lucked out, man. And then, you see how everybody responds to that from a defensive perspective, and then like how the team respects that at South Dakota State, because historically, when we were trying to build this thing at the D1 level, you'd have offenses that were great, but defense might be down in some areas, or vice versa. Now it's like, all right, Luan was a player, Eck was a player. Like, everybody's going all in with their preparation. You know damn well Jimmy's going to go all in with his preparation. Yeah. And Jimmy's going to find the toughest dudes, and he's going to want them all to play linebacker. So you never have to worry about that position unit. And man, it's going to be exciting. I'm excited to see how Coach Roll attacks Coach Rodgers and some of the wrinkles that are put in. And then I'm excited to see, the turnout, because our fans have shown up and shown out. And you're going to be there, and you're going to be present for this environment. And their fans are like lukewarm. They think they're supposed to be going. They think, yeah, you live here, and you think that they're going to be, selling out every game, but they're not, because they think they're trying to get to the, they're stale. They're tired maybe of, championship burnout, which
they're terrified for one, like, about like Tucker Kraft.
Oh yeah.
Like, they can say whatever they want. Like, I have gotten asked so many times, is Tucker playing this week? Yeah, is he playing this week? Have you talked to Tucker? I'm like, oh, hey. I was like, no, man. I'm like, you seen it on Twitter?
And what's hilarious? I think that I never really thought about that, because last year, I mean, he was relatively quiet. He made some big plays. Really, Jackson Yankee stepped up huge last year, along with Pierre in our offensive line. And our defensive line did a hell of a job stopping the run, and linebackers and safeties, everybody chipping in. This year, I wonder about those linebackers with Tucker Kraft. I mean, I wonder about those linebackers with that freak.
I'm not one to, I'm not trying to say anything bad about anyone, but they not ready for a dude like Tuck, man.
Yeah. I don't think anybody is, to be completely blunt, but at the same time, especially this week.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and there's a lot of those guys are young too, so like they like literally have not seen a player like Tucker before, right? So like, I mean, and not even just Tucker. Like, I believe that a lot of their guys on the team, like the younger guys, right, that are on defense, like haven't seen someone like Isaiah yet. Like haven't seen an offensive line like ours yet. I mean, like, and, like I told you earlier this week, like, yes, you're NDSU. Yes, you won national championships. Yes, Carson Wentz went there, but like, bro, like that can't save you now. Like, because now you're about to step on the field. You're gonna have to do that to Caleb Sanders. You're gonna have to do that to Mason McCormick. You're gonna have to do that to Mark Gronowski, Isaiah Davis. Like they don't care about those rings, right? And like, and when we approach this game, like we never have. Like, yeah, you won the national championship. Cool. We talking about right here, right now.
Right now.
So
yeah, what have you done lately? That's the key to this matchup. What have you done lately? And based on the trajectory, like you said, Bison Nation is thinking about some things. We'll just put it that way. Yeah. They're thinking, they got a lot to think about. And, that's a hell of a program too. I always say I got a shit ton of respect for the Bison. I don't like them, but I have a shit ton of respect. And their fans, it's a mixed bag. I told you coming down here, they're kind of nice to me because they're probably riding this endorphin rush thinking this is Fargo South. Yeah. But, there are some that chirp and just like say things about, I will say this, they say things about people. I sent out a tweet this week and you and I talked about it. They say things about people that are completely out of touch, like Christian Roseboom, for instance, and Logan Backus, both some of the better linebackers who've suited up in the Missouri Valley, and talking about their characters. So they can kick rocks with takes like that. Those are garbage. And we don't do that about their players, So
and I think that's what kind of is the most annoying part about it, because like our fans, like they're on Twitter, like if they win, or they lose, they'll be like, hey man, like these guys played a great game, blah blah blah. And like Christian Roseboom graduated years ago, and you see on Twitter like someone calling him like a trash human because he blew some dude up that wasn't looking on the KOR. Yeah, like dude, like I'm sorry you got your chest blown off, bro. Like look up, like you're playing football.
Exactly. So, and you're playing it at the highest level. So again, another garbage take from someone who is, who knows better. We'll just put it that way. And I think it's exciting, and it gets so exciting sometimes. Like, we could do a better job, like not breaking some glass in the Fargo Dome.
Coach Spence punching a hole through their window. Listen, and they have to pay for it.
We get after it, but we pay our bills because we keep receipts, right? We keep receipts. We know the receipts that Backus is not very good, that Roseboom is a trash human, that I don't know if they'll be able to run the ball on us, that their offensive line is suspect. They're too injury riddled. They haven't played a complete game. Their special teams is suspect. All this stuff.
And I love that. Like when I hear stuff like that, and I hear people say it, because I'm like, I just think in my head, I'm like, bro, you just don't know.
Yeah.
Like, you have.
And here's another one. Here's another one that's like, I don't know about Mark. I think he's overhyped. I don't know if he can play that well because of his legs and coming off an injury. And it's like, I don't know. He seems to be 13-2. He seems to be 13-2 as a starter, which is pretty hard to do. So we'll see, man. It's going to be exciting. And Zay has only played against them one time.
Right. Oh man, I'm so excited for him. Like, because I know our old line is going to do their job.
Yes, sir.
And once he gets to the second level, now it's your turn. Like, all right, like y'all doing all this talking, like all this is going on. Like, now I want you to back it up. Like, now you got to tackle 22 in the open field.
Yep.
Let's see how that goes.
Exactly. And all I hope is they get there and he makes them feel him. That's all I care. I mean, if it's 2 yards, you're going to feel it. If it's 1 yard, you're going to feel it, and then he'll bust off, a bigger gain, I'm sure, at some point, just because, the domino will fall at some point when you keep feeding him, because that dude runs harder than some of any running backs I've ever seen, really, at all levels. I'm not trying to pour it on and be a jobber here because I'm a homer. If you watch him run, and also it's interesting to see the correlation in how he thinks when he does post-game interviews, because if you look at him and listen to him, he's talking a mile a minute. So when he's out there on the field, he's playing fast. His mind is processing the holes, the plays. Like the natural flow of how he can get in and out of his cuts and stiff arm people to death. It's just awesome to watch.
Yeah, I mean, that dude he's a grown man run the football, bro. And I think that's one thing that SDSU has been doing a really good job of, like, this year. Like, they just be playing grown man football. Like, you're not finna embarrass me. Like,
Right.
you know, you watch Mason McCormick. He takes guys back I was watching the USD game, literally 5 yards back every single play.
Yeah,
Like,
NFL Draft Diamonds did a good feature on Garrett Greenfield.
Yeah, Garrett too.
And now I'm waiting for the next one too. Like, no disrespect to Garrett at all, but like just the way that Mason has been playing lately. I mean, we should shout out Garrett too. He got
Garrett's a
offensive
beast.
lineman of the week.
Yeah.
He's a beast. He's long. You know, I think again we're peaking at the right time. You know, getting some of the yips out early on in the year, adjusting to playing left tackle from right. Because Big Aaron Johnson was there last year, who held it down. You know, we're trending in the right direction, peaking at the right time, and you know, we're eating. And by eating, I mean pancakes, because Mason McCormick is stacking plates. He just is. He's got a body count that's you know,
for sure. And like, you know, Mason, like you should have a conversation with the dude. Like, Mason's a good friend of mine, but like, he is just a mean ass dude. Like, just in general. Like, I'm assuming like Jimmy was probably kind of the same way, but like Mason, just in general, like, he's a truth teller. He's a mean ass dude, and he says like, look, bro, like, I want to make you mad. Like, I want to put you on your back and piss you off and have you thinking about me the rest of the game. Like,
that's that Rodman strategy.
Yeah, bro.
Get in your head and get you off your game. I like that too. That's just nasty. That's nasty football, and that's the way it's played in the trenches when you're playing it at a high level. So, and so, you know, another thing that's kind of a unique storyline that Chad brings up, an excellent point here. So Aaron Johnson was our big left tackle whose dad played at NDSU also. It was interesting seeing how gigantic they all are, because I was at the Marker game and sitting right behind them in 2019 when College Game Day was here. We should shout that out again. So for such a small school, you know, we've announced ourselves along with the Bison. You know, we're the only team that's really beaten them consistently. And then, you know, we do big things in the playoffs. Now we're looking to take that next step, and it all begins at 2:30 p.m. on Saturday on ESPN Plus. So we're excited. We're excited about that. We're excited to see some of this from Steve. Expect to see some plays that aren't on tape. Exactly. Steven Anderson. Stuff from either side, stuff from all phases. Maybe some pooch kicks on kickoff. Maybe some, you know, we saw some razzle dazzle to keep teams honest against Missouri State on kickoff return for the Jacks, where we had the throwback pass. We're doing things to keep people honest and to set things up down the road. So what else you got, man? Anything?
Oh, man, just know, Jacks fans, when you're there, man, I'm going to see you. I'm going to say what's up. We're going to be talking our stuff. We're going to be hurting people's feelings. I can't wait to watch my boys go crazy this weekend, man.
Well put, man. So one other thing, because I think this would be a great way to wrap. When you know the game is in hand or the clock is hitting 0 and you either have the rock or you don't have the rock, talk about that feeling and talk about both sides of the emotion. Talk about what's it like hauling ass over there to grab the rock, and what's it like on the other side. Maybe talk about what it's like on the other side first.
So, I mean, my first year when I got here was the year that, you know, Jake got that catch in the end zone and won. So, like, I had started off, like, not knowing what it's like to watch them run across and grab the rock. So that was the kind of the standard when we got here. And then, you know, in 2017, you know, we won again, which was cool. But, like, in 2018, when we had lost up there, and just, like, kind of seeing, like, those dudes, like, they don't care about you anymore, right? Like, you know, usually, like, you'll dap guys up after the game, like, hey, man, you played a good job. Like, it's more so like, yeah, get out of here. Like, we just got the rock, bounce, right? And their fans will let you know that. Like, hey, hit the road, go to Brookings, like, Bob, like, and it sucks because you feel like you really let a lot of people down, right? Like, people that put in a lot of time towards this, like, guys who are playing before you. I mean, even, you know, seeing Coach Rogers, his face, like, it's just like you feel like you failed, like you feel like a failure. And I mean, and I know our guys, like, hate that feeling. So, like, you know, when you get to go in there and you get to play them And then Coach Stig always says this, that he wants us to shake their hands before we go get the rock, right? And, like, I think that feeling is the best part of it, right? Like, you go up to a dude, like, you shake his hand, you're like, hey, man, you played good today. And then he knows you're about to go grab that rock, and you like, hey, man, like, good job, bro. Hit the showers, bro. And you go grab the rock. Like, that feeling's just awesome. And, you know, seeing that seeing just the joy in all the fans' faces, like, your parents are way up there, like, and you can hardly see them, but you hear them yelling. And, you know, seeing Coach Rogers crack a smile for once every few weeks, you know, it's really dope, making a lot of people proud.
That's awesome, man. You know, I got to say this, Coach Rogers is very honest when he says he didn't go when he was a player. I think he only touched the rock one time, and that was in 2009 when he was a senior. So he wasn't ever going to get another chance to do it again. And for him, it was like, all right, on to the next. Because when we played them, we ran them back then. Like we won in 07. We really should have won in 06, but we were just bit with injury bugs again later in the year. So 07 won, 08 won, 09 won. And so it kind of started to get like a little, not lame because you want to win every game, but like it didn't have the energy behind it because they had no titles. We made the FCS playoffs before they did in terms of the transition. And to see him and to see guys treat it like that, and then now to see it, it's cool because it didn't start out the way it is now and what it's become. Mm-hmm. And from that standpoint, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like you feel like you let your teammates down, yourself down with your preparation when you just can't get it together enough to close it out. And there's something that builds in you. It builds a focus for the rest of the season. So, and I think that's very apparent when you look at the trajectory of NDSU when they've gotten the dub in that game, and then SDSU when they've gotten the dub in that game, or NDSU when they've lost. And so I think I bring that up to say the season is not over regardless of how this game shakes out. Everything is still in front of us, but it sure would be nice to get home field advantage throughout, just like we did in 2020. So,
yeah.
and seeing how our fans have shown up, man, you see the impact they have on the game. So I'm excited that the fans are going to travel. Chad, do you have any insight on the bus ride up there? You're muted, big dog, so we'll get you off mute.
Yeah, sorry, man. I don't got anything really big to say. We're gonna have quite the get up down there at I guess north of the stadium at B-Dubs, and come on over and say hi. We're putting together a podcast live there, so you can come meet the B team. That's gonna be a great time. I don't have to drive there, and I don't have to drive back. So
love that.
We'll be having a good time.
So there's a big caravan heading up there. Get to B-Dubs up there in Fargo. Wear blue, show out. Jacks are going to be in all white.
Blue.
Yeah, and Jacks are going to be in the all whites, the baptism attire, because we're about to baptize some folks. And no disrespect, I just like saying that. And predictions on the score, man. I think it's going to be tight. I think player of the game, I think, is going to be Bach on the defensive side of the ball. I would love to see D-line in there, but I think he's just going to be able to do his thing and float freely because he's going to have to do some things against Lipke and what they're going to throw at him. I'm going to say offensively, I'm going to say Gronowski is going to step up and he's going to have a big game in some different ways. And he's going to benefit from Zay, and it's going to be good overall. I want to say the score, our average is about 27 points a game. We're only giving up about 13. I'm going to go with Ron Lowney, 27-13 Jacks.
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm right there with you. I was going to say, like, I don't see these guys scoring more than one touchdown on our defense.
Right.
And, like, I know how our offense works, and I'm excited to see those guys play. We're going to have to be in agreement on that one, 27-13 Jacks.
Yes, sir. And then if you had to pick a player of the game, who you got on both sides?
On both sides, I'm going Isaiah Davis.
Let's go.
Make him feel him.
Let's go. And then defensively?
I'm going with Caleb Sanders, man. He's always terrorized these guys, and I can't wait to see him do it one more time in the Fargo Dome.
Colonel, baby. Disrupting backfields since 1990. What, 4 was he born? 5, 6?
He was born probably like 99.
Good grief, I'm getting old. Jeez. Awesome, man. Well, hey, Stack, I appreciate it again. I'm sorry you got to live up there in Moorhead, Fargo area, but
no, it's fine. I still be wearing my Jacks gear. I'll be letting them know 24/7. I'll be repping still.
That's right, man. Let them know. I know you're going to be very friendly to the Fargo folks up there.
They're going to see a whole lot of this.
Yeah, horns down all day, baby. Raise that rock again and retain it. And, with that, go big, go blue,
go Jacks.
Go Jacks.